Judges 11, let's call this one his story, which is a common twist on the word history. It refers to the ways in which we can sometimes fall into the temptation to spin history into a more favorable version for our particular perspective. But let's also subtitle it stipulated facts, which refers to those kinds of facts that two parties in a disagreement can actually agree on, so as to narrow any kind of dispute down, so that you're not wasting your energy on needless squabbling. But understand that that fits the story that we're reading here in chapter 11 with Jephthah, as we mentioned, a forsaken judge. It's really fitting because of all the different times that Israel forsook God. And Jephthah found himself forsaken because of things that really were beyond his control. He was the son of a prostitute who was cast out from amongst his brothers, considered to be the more natural heirs, because they did not want to share in the inheritance with him. And so they cast him out. However, one of the things that hard times can do is they can harden you up in ways that luxury can't. And so over time, it became apparent that Jephthah was a strong man. He became a fighter. And when those more privileged brothers fell into trouble, actually, not just them, the nation of Israel looked to Jephthah to lead them. But because of the way they treated Jephthah, there was going to be this deal that, look, if he's going to save you, he's going to be your king, he's going to be your leader. And so he is going to agree to save the people of Israel, or at least try to serve on their behalf against the Ammonites. And in exchange, if he is successful, then he is going to, in fact, be their leader from that point forward. And so Jephthah is going to do something that is not commonly associated with strong men. He is going to demonstrate a strong knowledge of the history of Israel leading into this particular fight, understanding that they had many enemies. And this particular enemy had a bone to pick with Israel, saying that Israel was occupying territory that belonged to them. But Jephthah, knowing the history of these two peoples, the Israelites and the Ammonites, he's like, no, buddy, what happened was, as our forefathers were trying to pass through your territory, coming out of their years of bondage in Egypt, your forefathers told us no. And unlike many of the kings that we fought against, God told us not to fight against you. So we simply found another way around. And as God delivered us a path around your territory through the lands of kings who he would deliver into our hand, we simply occupied their territory and left you alone. So why are you coming to create conflict with us today? And that's a theme we're going to see carry forward in a number of other disputes Israel is going to get into through the rest of Judges. See, we're going to see this pattern that after the fighting is over, people are going to want to come and lay claim to territories they didn't fight for. And the Ammonites are going to seem to fall in that line of adversaries that Israel is going to face. And so Jephthah, aware of what is going on, is going to do something that we often see even in our conflict resolution to this day, or at least our formal dispute resolution, which is entering into a set of stipulated facts, meaning what are the facts that we can agree on that can narrow down this dispute so that neither of us are wasting time and energy on frivolous arguments. And so that's what stipulated facts are. They aren't able to reach an agreement as to what the stipulated facts are in this case, so they end up going to war. But understand that Jephthah, a man of war, understands the value of still trying to seek peace when it can be found. Stipulated facts don't always keep you out of trouble, but a wise man, as we're going to see Jephthah present himself as not only in this conflict, but in later conflicts, seeks to understand what's actually going on, and hoping that he has a wise enough adversary that we can hopefully whittle down this disagreement to a narrow set of things that we can find peace on, as opposed to going to war. Well, this time Jephthah did not find that kind of adversary, but he set an example that we would be wise to follow. Why? Because he understands that he is going to need God to help him out in this fight. And the second advantage of stipulated facts is understanding if I can put aside the temptation to look at history from my perspective and respin it into his story or my story, then I can have an objective version of history that helps me understand what God is actually willing to endorse. And so, as we often say, God's best to you as you go forward in him. This time, understanding the value not only of stipulated facts, facts you can agree on with a potential adversary, but the stipulated facts you can agree on with God. So that whether or not anyone else supports you, God is the one holding you down, which is a slang term for either fighting alongside you or just flat out fighting your battles for you in your time of need.